Welcome to Classic Car Garage, the classic car restoration how-to television show. We're glad you could join us again this week. We've been coming to you from Tom's Custom Auto Body in Anaheim, California, where our project car is getting its body and paint work. Now, anybody who knows anything about paint knows that it's not the actual painting that makes a fine quality paint job, it's indeed the preparation. That's why we're here today in Tom's semi-downdraft paint booth to learn a little bit more about priming and block sanding. First of all, Tom, how you doing?
Great. Good to see you again, Jeff.
And I understand this is Ramon.
This is Ramon Vera.
Ramon, pleasure to have you on our show today. Now, Ramon's doing a little sanding here. What's he up to?
He's blocking down the polyester spray fill product that we sprayed on earlier.
Our slick sand.
Slick sand,
okay.
Yes. And we've taken that all down and made it as smooth as we possibly can. We had a couple little imperfections in the surface of the metal, and then we went on to fill those with this metal glaze.
So next step is going to be what? We get into the Spies-Hecker system now, right?
Yes, now we move into the complete Spies-Hecker system, which is an acrylic urethane system made to do just this. Take it from a 150 grit scratch all the way to a surface that's ready to paint.
Okay, now this is going to be a pre-treatment, our next step, right? Which is sort of an acid wash.
Yes, the first product that we spray on here is 3688,
okay,
which is a pre-treatment, which actually etches the bare metal areas
right
on the metal. And then we put on a product called 5150,
right,
which is a two-component product that's very, very high build,
right,
low VOC product.
And two components before that, really that process took a great deal longer, didn't it?
Oh, it took a long time.
So really the Spies-Hecker system has reduced that amount of time, probably by at least half, right?
Yes, at least.
Okay, so the next step is going to be applying that acid wash, and I tell you what, I'll step back and let you get to work.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, Tom, that pre-treatment acid wash looks pretty good, but it seems to have turned our entire door into one giant green pickle. Is it really supposed to do that?
Yes, this is it's called a transparent pre-treatment product that actually etches the metal surfaces.
Right, and by etching the metal surfaces, you mean what?
It actually pickles. It actually penetrates the metal.
So it infiltrates it?
It does infiltrate. It does penetrate that metal to give a bond between that metal and the product that I'm going to spray on now, the 5150.
Okay, Spies-Hecker 5150, which is our primer surfacer. All right, Tom, now I stepped out of the paint booth while you were doing that, obviously because I wasn't wearing a respirator, but what do you call that technique again?
Tack and a whack.
Okay, tack and a whack. Obviously, this looks great, but it's going to take, normally, without a heater, how long would it take for this to dry?
Probably 12 hours.
12 hours, but we're going to reduce that with our brand new heater back here to how long?
10 minutes on, and it has to be done in you have to bring this up slowly. This is a product that you cannot just blast with a heater.
Right.
So, though it's much faster to do with a heater, you do have to bring it on slowly. So we'll warm up the panel, and then we can go with the heater at full strength. Takes about 10 minutes after that.
Okay, so we'll get started with that process. And you stay tuned now because there's more Classic Car Garage coming your way next, right after these words. Welcome back to Classic Car Garage as we continue the paint prep on our Project Mustang. We're here in the paint booth with Tom Horvath, and we're joined this time by James, the head painter. How you doing, James?
Great to be here.
Pleasure to meet you, too. Now, our door is hung here so that we can properly get to the door jambs, the side area here, and of course along the bottom as well, too. We want to paint our door jambs red, the top coat color here, and the inside of it, where it's textured here, is going to be black. Mustangs, of course, have a textured surface, so we want to pay special attention to that so we don't lose it. But Tom, once this was sprayed on here, this primer, this really dried in about 20 minutes because we used the Infratech heating system, right?
Yes, it's a real neat product. It's an infrared light that actually dries the surface from the inside out.
Okay, Tom, James is painting the back side of the door first, and that's really what you'd want to do, right?
Yes.
And
so the overspray that happens to land on the outside will be covered by a nice, smooth, wet coat of paint on the once he finishes the outside of the door.
Okay, so he's got that pickled look on the back side of the door there, and that's where he is putting this primer surfacer right now.
Yeah, this is the actual sealer. The sealer is a wet-on-wet process that you go right to top coat with.
I see. James, fantastic work here, and I think there are a lot of people who would hang this on their car just like this, but we've got another step to go here, right? In your hand is the spray gun, and that is filled with our top coat color, right?
Series 270.
That's it. So finally, we're going to see the color that this car is going to be.
Yes.
So we'll step back again, James, and let you do your magic, and this is the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Yes.
Okay, so there he goes with the red paint going on, and he's going to paint the jambs there in the bottom of the door. And again, he's using the gun sideways, and with the DeVilbiss gun you can do that. And he'll paint just the inside of the lip there as well too. All right, there goes the final color. And if you'll notice
the coverage too.
Right.
Very good coverage.
Coverage is excellent with the Speed Hecker paint, and again, he's using very good technique. If you notice, you novice painters out there who are learning how to do it, learn it the way that James has here. Very smooth, fluid motions, left to right, 8 to 10 inches away.
Nice and square to the panel.
And now he's going over it again.
Tack and a whack.
Right, tack and a whack is what that technique is called.
We're done.
That's it, great work. Fantastic work, that looks positively beautiful. But, as I said, we're not done yet because we have 2 more steps to go, and that is going to be color sanding and buffing, and that's where the real gloss and the shine really comes out, right?
Yes. We even bring out even more depth than what's on there now, and this is a beautiful finish that's on here right now.
So if you think this is something, just wait, because Classic Car Garage will be right back after these words. Welcome back to Classic Car Garage. This is the final step in our Project Mustang's paint job. Now, what we're going to do in this segment are the final 2 steps that will make this panel into a show-winning panel, and those are color sanding and buffing. Now, Tom, this panel already looks pretty darn good. I mean, a lot of people would accept this for their car, but we're not, are we? We've got 2 more steps to do with this. What's the paper and the tape all about?
The paper is to just give us the difference between a color sanded finish when this is done. This isn't done yet, but and the uncolor sanded finish, which will be underneath the paper. Okay, now those 2 steps, starting with color sanding. First of all, what is color sanding going to do to this? How is it going to improve this finish? What we're going to do is we're going to knock out anything, any dust particle or any orange peel or any amount of any flaw that's in the paint, and we're going to knock that down to a flat surface, and then with 2000 grit sandpaper, and then we're going to buff that up with a buffing wheel and compound. Okay, and a lot of people have the mistaken idea that really that the reason that the cars shine out at shows is because they're using a very good quality wax, but that's not the case, is it? No, it's not. Absolutely. It happens to be the paint job here. Absolutely. The wax is simply a protectant and enhancer to a certain extent, but it is definitely the color sanding, the buffing. You don't want to skip this process whatsoever. This is a really important process in a paint finish. The amount of time that we spent prepping the car and making it look good, the kind of paint that we use, these are all really important steps. But without this step, you're not going to win a paint. Right. Well, as I said, already it looks pretty good. There are some minor imperfections that I can see here, so let's get to work on this. As you said, the first thing that we're going to need is a specific sanding block for color sanding, right? Yes. And we're using looks like a very well-used 3M block here. Yes, we certainly could use some more of those. Yes. And you're going to be wrapping some sandpaper around that, and that's what grit on that? This is 3M sandpaper. It's 2000 grit. It doesn't really have much of a texture to it. No, not at all. But it will take this paint down. And again, you've got to use it in a bucket of clean water. And very clean water with a little bit of soap as a lubricator. A little bit of soap. And the water serves really as a way for some of the particles that you take off there really to sort of just float away, right? Yep. And you want to rinse that probably quite regularly too. Oh yes, you'll see it's quite often. Okay, now that we've got that wrapped around the block there, what is the technique for color sanding? When you color sand any kind of paint, you want to do it in a straight line fashion. Doesn't necessarily have to be, you know,
all
up or down.
One
it's
direction.
just try and do it in one direction so you can differentiate between the buff scratch and the color sanding scratch. As you buff on the scratch surface, that straight line, you'll see the rotation of the buffer putting its own scratch in there, which will be much smaller than the 2000 grit scratch.
Okay, so when you're buffing and you're done buffing an area, if you see more of these, you know that you haven't buffed that enough and
That's
you need
right.
to keep going over that area.
Yes.
Okay, so there's nothing really spectacularly fancy about this. You just rinse it and sand, right?
Yes.
And how much pressure should you put on this?
Not really much pressure at all. The sandpaper will cut by itself and you just glide the paper back and forth across the panel.
Okay, let's see how this
Okay.
works.
Dip it in the water, a little bit of soap in there, and you just simply glide that across there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sandpaper, and you can see I'm pulling up a little color right now.
Right, we can see the colored water running over here, so it is taking a little bit of the surface off there.
Yep, just a tiny bit of paint that's coming off.
And this is to eliminate any orange peel, any particulates, anything like that that has gotten down into that paint.
Yep.
And of course, I don't hear any scratching.
No, it's very, very mild. But any car that wins paint awards has had this process done to it.
Would you be able to take a paint job that's maybe a year or so old that's been protected and color sand it in order to get any imperfections out of the surface of that paint as well?
Like an OEM factory finish?
Right. Is this something that you have to do as soon as you paint it, though?
Well, OEM factory finishes, it's dangerous to do on because you never know how much paint's on that surface. You can do it, but it's dangerous.
Okay, Tom, so you've finished your color sanding here, but I see that we've applied some blue tape to the edges here. Why did we do that?
This is it's called fine line tape, and what we're using it for is so the buffer doesn't accidentally grab an edge.
Right.
It's real dangerous if you don't do this, because if you grab an edge, you're going right through the paint.
It's going to burn it right through, and you've just ruined a paint job. You've got to either paint the whole door or at least touch it up on the corner there.
Yeah,
and
so it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next step now is going to be buffing, and we're going to be using obviously a buffer like you have right there. That is an industrial buffer. But beyond that, we're going to be using this Malco Light Finish Polishing Cleaner. Tell us more about this.
This is a product made by Malco. It's a real fine polishing compound. It's not like the old-fashioned heavy-duty type compounds that were very coarse, used on lacquers and acrylic enamels. This is a different kind of paint, so you have to use a different kind of polish.
Right.
And this polish works great.
It's a very thin kind of
kind of like a toothpaste consistency.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we need there.
Yep.
Okay, so show us how that you apply this and get started with the job.
It's always nice when you have people around not to sling this stuff into them.
Right, I've got my Spieshecker black shirt on here, so I think I'll stand back as you do this.
I might get some on me, but I don't want to sling any on you.
Okay.
As you can see, this buffer turns in a clockwise rotation.
Right.
So when I go into the work, I want it to come back into me.
Come back this way.
If I hit it on this side, you can see where that compound is going to sling.
Right, exactly.
Right on you.
Right.
So we want this to sling. And what I'll do is I'll warm up the pad, and you can see it came back to me that way.
Exactly.
So then
now what you're going to do is you're going to put just that amount of this light finish on here. That's all you need?
No, we'll use more. But right now, you work this in, you work it in until you start to see it come up, and you want to make sure all your straight line 2000 grit scratches are gone.
Now you're using just the edge of that buffing pad, right? Is that the technique that you want to use normally?
Yes. You don't ever flat buff.
Right.
A lot of people grab a buffer and flat buff, and they don't have any control with it, and it'll make a big mess.
So you're really using about maybe 1/3 of an edge on that?
Yes.
All right, Tom, that looks great. That looks fantastic, but that's not really the final step, is it? We're going to use this product one more time.
One more time, and now we go
to a foam pad here.
To a foam pad.
And I can really already see the difference.
This changes the scratch again, because the cutting pad was there to take out the 2000 grit scratch, and it brought up a real nice shine. Now the foam pad is there to take out the scratch from the cutting pad. So we're making that scratch smaller and smaller, kind of like grinding a diamond.
Right. And that's the whole idea. It's scratched, but we just keep reducing it and reducing it and reducing it.
That's right. We want to take this till the time it's pretty dry. You don't want to completely dry buff, ever, because then you take a chance on burning the paint. Okay.
Okay.
Set that down.
That looks fantastic.
Now
finally, we're down to the point where we've been waiting for all along, and that's going to be what? The wax.
Wax. Yes. Malco again has a really nice product, and you can see the residue that was left from the light finish. Real light, but it's got a little bit of a residue, so we want to take that all off of there. I want to go to a clean surface because I'm going to apply the wax with a sponge. Now the reason why I use a sponge, so you don't get a scratch.
Yeah.
A rag, diaper, they all leave a little bit of a scratch.
That's got fiber to it, and that indeed is going to leave a scratch there. So there is a good technique and a tip for people out there is to use a tile and grout sponge.
Make sure they're clean.
Obviously.
Never been used in tile and grout.
Okay. Yeah, don't use your old tile and grout sponge. That'll never work for you. Okay, so now that we've got this on here, we have to let this dry to a haze?
Yeah, let that dry completely to a haze, and then we'll buff it dry with a new tile and grout sponge, one that's hasn't been used for waxing, and then we'll compare the differences between the buffed out surface and the surface that was spray gun surface.
Wow, that is beginning to look fantastic.
And you can see there's no small scratches from what normally would be left on there from a rag. It just looks nice and glassy
That is
smooth.
absolutely Pebble Beach Concours quality right there.
And you can see the difference?
That is incredible.
Between the two panels.
That is incredible. Can we get a shot of the line right here between these two? Wow. That is amazing.